Cancer is isolating. During that challenging time, Wellwood makes sure that you are not alone. Wellwood is there to provide support on your cancer journey. Norma Frankoff is the Director of Programs and Organizational Development at Wellwood and has been with the organization since its inception. With a degree from McMaster University and diploma from Sheridan College, she's taught volunteer management at Mohawk and is a board-certified development specialist trained by the United Way of Canada. Welcome, Norma. Could you please tell me a little bit about the Wellwood and its programs?
Well, thanks for having me here. Wellwood is a community-based organization in Hamilton, but we serve the larger community. And we call ourselves a supportive care organization for people living with cancer or caring for someone with cancer. And I usually describe our programs and services as everything but the medical, because the medical is well taken care of at the cancer center and at the hospitals. It's the in-between issues. It's the gaps. It's the, what do I do about telling my kids? Where do I find a wig? How do I get rides to my appointments if I don't have a vehicle or I can't drive? That's what we exist to do. And so we have quite a few programs and services that help fill the gaps and create a safe space for people to, recover and manage everything that happens.
So now we spoke to a partner, the Cancer Assistance Program, and we know there's lots of really great programs in community that all work together to help to ensure the safety and well-being of our friends and community. So how do partnerships and working together with other associations like the Cancer Assistance Program, how does that work for you at Wellwood?
Well, the Cancer Assistance Program is a really good example because what we offer complements one another. I think of us as two halves of the same coin, in the sense that there is so much in someone's world that they need to take care of over and above the appointments and the sickness and the treatment and drugs and things like that. That between the two of us, they can provide transportation, they can provide wigs and prosthetics, they can provide nutritional supplements, the very practical, pragmatic equipment loans. And for folks that we have, it's the social emotional. We can provide that safe place to land and that community for people to sort of inhabit for as long as they need. So we cross-refer. You can imagine we cross-refer all the time. People come to us with needs and we address what we can. But we often say, if you don't know where to start at Wellwood, because we are the people that will say, look, CAP is the organization that can provide you your transportation. Just give them a call, or they have parking spots, or you can get a commode or whatever else you need. It strengthens us both. To be aware of one another and to work really well together, which we do.
One of the things we like to talk about at Community Cultures is obviously those partnerships and the sense of community, the impact that you're having, the statistics, the numbers. How many people is Wellwood serving on a regular basis?
It's interesting because that numbers are very hard. It's hard to quantify because it's exponential.
Okay.
When we serve a child through our kids program for kids living with illness in the family, we're serving the family. We're supporting the family. If it comes down to it, when we look at who participates in programs, who accesses our resources, navigation, peer mentoring, and all that, in a regular year, it might be between 4,000 and 5,000 people a year.
Oh, wow.
In this year, it's hard to quantify, but I can tell you that some of our programs have tripled and quadrupled in participation. This is a tough year for everyone who doesn't even have to deal with the additional layer of having cancer, because it means that people have to go into hospitals, which they might be reluctant to do. But they have to go in for treatments and appointments. And the hospitals, they're doing as much as they can to have consultations through Zoom and so on. But, the truth is they have to go in for treatment, and it's very stressful.
There's so many added layers, obviously, with COVID, and services across the board have had to pivot. I would imagine with the pivot that you've made and being online and having those services, that's how your tentacles can continue to reach. So the impact that you're having is even greater. How have you pivoted during this time and continue to pivot as we move forward?
Tentacles is a really good word because that's how we see what we do anyway. We actually were able to, we had been considering online options for quite some time before the pandemic, because we realized that we function within a LIN, the local health integrated network, and beyond, because Hamilton's a regional cancer center. You get people coming from other communities or outside of the greater sort of Hamilton, Burlington area. And so you want to be accessible to people who may not feel well enough to travel into our community site to do yoga. And so we were exploring and experimenting with online. We had begun with our lecture series, because people used to come in on a Tuesday night, but you can't run those things in the winter. Evenings are tough for people who are tired after a treatment day. And when we went online, we noticed a significant difference in the number of people that were able to log in and watch. So we had a format in place. We had our first 3 online programs ready to go within 3 weeks of the March 13th sort of announcement, which was really good for us. And we didn't just import programs from in-person to online. We looked at each and every one and how they would change, because we do find that Zoom can be very tiring. It's a different way of interacting.
It is.
There's a large group, right? You can be very tired because you're looking at 12 faces at once and your own, and the brain is trying to process that. So we realized that we had to slow things down. What may have been a 2-hour fun workshop on Zentangling, which is pattern drawing, meditative drawing, turned into a 5-week 1-hour session.
Wow. Okay.
Because it needed to, we needed to give people time to catch up, to process. And then we also found that the connection, there was always a connection at the beginning and the end. How are you doing this week? You know, how's the treatment going? That kind of thing. So at the moment we have, I think 14 programs online. It's always changing. We have some core programming like yoga and watercolor and meditation, guided visualization. And then we're always looking for one-offs, easy sort of, here's a 1-hour option. We're exploring and experimenting. So at the end of this month, for example, we're bringing someone in who's going to do the singing bowls, the bowls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because those are very meditative.
Yeah.
Oh, it's about relaxing and clearing the chatter in your head. So yeah, we're quite vibrant now. Once we got the hang of how we were going to translate things online, everything fell into place. And I have to say, our volunteers were amazing. We're volunteer delivered, skilled, highly skilled volunteers, trained. And they didn't hesitate to step up and say, sure, I'll do it through Zoom, no problem at all. So there are some bright spots. There have been some bright spots. Yeah.
We hear that across the board with community cultures. Is just the way the community has stepped up, and the volunteerism, and just the passionate people who really care about their friends and neighbors. You've mentioned some incredible sounding programs. Are these programs free to those that come to Wellwood?
Yes, they are, no cost. We made a commitment when Wellwood began that we would not charge anyone for anything that we did, because we didn't want to create any barriers to participation. And we also know there are hidden costs when you're being treated for cancer. There's parking costs, there's additional drugs that help you with the side effects. You know, there are hidden costs. So no cost.
How are you fundraising? How is Wellwood going into community, and how have you had to pivot that to continue the work that you do?
Well, that's the question, because we are all in the same boat. There have been some good things like the pandemic response fund that the Hamilton Community Foundation was managing. We have had 2 virtual fundraisers. We had a virtual walk, run, wheel. We're having another one in October. And this is where you register. There's no charge to register, but you secure sponsors, pledges. And then we also had a holiday market last November, which we are going to repeat again. We have curbside pickup. We did it online, and it was incredible. I think we did as well, if not better, than when we had our in-person market. So between grants and subsidies and direct asks and fundraising, we're doing okay. We certainly feel like everyone else. It's a difficult climate to fundraise in because people have lost jobs too. So
it's the making the ask and having the community be there as well. And you clearly are there for our community members. I always like to share just a positive story or a feel-good moment through the past year. Is there something that stands out to you, Norma, as just a wow, what a great, that was such an awesome moment? Is there anything that you can tell us about?
Yes, actually, there's quite a few.
I imagine.
The one that comes to mind was in the early days when we started reaching out to our clients, and we did it by phone. So we changed there as well. We did it by phone. And we started to reach out to say, you know what, we're going to put some things on Zoom. How do you feel about that? And I spoke to one of our clients and she said, I think I'm going to cry. And it was because she just felt such relief that she wasn't going to have to do this alone, that she wasn't going to go through this isolation, that Wellwood would still be able to provide that community for her. And we see that time and again, people connecting with one another and just enjoying that sort of contact, that human contact, if only technologically. It's been wonderful.
To summarize, where do you hope to see Wellwood go within the next year and moving forward?
Well, I think we all hope that within the next year, we're further along than we are right now. We are all hoping that within the next year, we'll be in talks to go back to in-person, but we're going to go as a new organization. We're going to go return as a hybrid. We aren't necessarily going to stop delivering things online. I think what you'll find is opportunities to participate in person at our beautiful community site, or to log in and participate online, because if you participate online in art, we'll mail you the supplies. It's still quite lovely. So we see ourselves as a hybrid that's just as responsive as ever.
I think that's one of sort of the biggest takeaways from this experience we've all been through, is the ability to continue to connect, albeit different. But what it's done is it's opened so many new doors and avenues to new people that you can help, to new funders, to new volunteers. We've really enabled our community to continue those connections. And it's a great learning lesson on how we can apply to just our daily lives moving forward.
Absolutely, 100%. It's been great learning for us.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Norma, and thank you for all you do for our community.
Oh, my pleasure. It was nice speaking to you. I like to brag about Wellwood, and it's nice to be able to talk to you and talk about CAP as well. So thank you.
Well, you're certainly doing great work, and we hope that this will encourage folks to get involved as well.
For sure. Take care.
People living with cancer and their families have support groups that they benefit from for practical help and advice that they receive from others who have lived through similar situations. Support groups bring people together and provide a safe forum for exchanging information and supporting each other. As we can see, we have 2 such great programs in our Halton region.